political or economic event. Radio Algeria International, our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
The President of the Republic, مساء, has appointed the members of the government led by Mr. Sifi Ghayib, marked by the arrival of 10 ministers. And Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf, special representative of President Abdelmajid Tebboune, is taking part in the Emergency Arab Islamic Summit, which kicked off in Qatar. And more than 80 international non-governmental organizations have called for states and companies to end all forms of business dealings with the Israeli settlements in the occupied Palestinian territories. Those were the major developments. Now the full news edition. I'm Asya Bakar. Good afternoon. The President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, has appointed the members of the government led by Mr. Sifi Ghayib, marked by the appointment of 10 new ministers, the creation of new portfolios, including that of the inspection of state services and local authorities, and the merger of some ministries. Mr. Sharfi has the details.
The new government team, led by the Prime Minister, Mr. Sifi Ghayib, who was confirmed in his position earlier in the day, announced by the spokesperson of the Presidency of the Republic, Mr. Samir Aggoun, includes 34 ministers, 10 of whom are new, and 3 secretaries of state. Ahmed Attaf appointed as Minister of State in charge of Foreign Affairs, the National Community Abroad and African Affairs, Said Shingriha as Deputy Minister of the Ministers of National Defense, Chief of Staff of the People's National Army, and Lutfi Boujma'a as Minister of Justice. The government records the arrival of Murad Ajjal as Minister of Energy and Renewable Energies. Brahim Merad becomes Minister of State in charge of the inspection of state services and local authorities, a newly created portfolio. A change also affected Zohir Bouamama, who has been appointed Minister of Communication, replacing Mohammed Mizian. Most ministers retained their posts in key sectors including education, health, economy, tourism, and youth. The Secretaries of State for Foreign Affairs and Mines also remain unchanged.
And earlier, Prime Minister Sifi Ghayib indicated that the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, gave him instructions to be at the service of Algerian citizens and to promote national economy. Mr. Ghayib stated that he was honored to be appointed Prime Minister, pledging with his government team to serve citizens, boost national economy, and consult all segments of society for Algeria's advancement.
Today,
the President of the Republic honored me by appointing me as Prime Minister and then forming the new government. He gave me all the necessary instructions to ensure the service of the Algerian citizen first and to push the national economy towards the ranks befitting Algeria as a pivotal state regionally and internationally. I also renew my commitment and the commitment of the entire government team to work on the ground to serve the citizen and to consult with all national categories and segments in the service of our dear country, Algeria.
That was Prime Minister Sifi Ghayib. And now Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf, special representative of the President Abdelmajid Tebboune, is participating in the Emergency Arab Islamic Summit now taking place in Doha, Qatar. Jamal Salmani has the details.
The summit, which follows the Israeli aggression against the brotherly state of Qatar, is a renewed opportunity for the member states of the Arab League and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation to examine the latest developments in the Middle East and strengthen their common position in this regard. Ahead of the summit, the Algerian diplomacy chief held bilateral talks with Qatar's Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs, Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman bin Jassim Al Thani. Ahmed Attaf seized the opportunity to reaffirm Algeria's full solidarity with the state of Qatar following the Israeli aggression and reviewed with his Qatari counterpart the coordinated diplomatic efforts carried out between the two parties at the UN Security Council following this aggression. They also examined the various aspects of the brotherly and privileged cooperation relations between the two brotherly countries, welcoming the high level achieved thanks to the special interest shown by the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, and his brother, the Emir of the State of Qatar, His Highness Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani.
Let's note that Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas is among the officials taking part in the Emergency Arab Islamic Summit to discuss the Israeli attack on the state of Qatar, and the Emir of Qatar is now taking the floor and speaking at the summit. The United Nations Human Rights Council will hold an urgent debate in Geneva tomorrow, Tuesday, on the Israeli September 9th attack targeting Hamas leaders in Qatar. Jamal Salmani has the details.
The September 9 airstrike was widely condemned by the Arab world and international community. The debate was requested by Pakistan on behalf of member states of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation and by Kuwait on behalf of the Gulf Cooperation Council. The request came as leaders of Arab and Islamic states are meeting in Doha today, where they are expected to warn that the Israeli attack on Qatar and other hostile acts threaten coexistence in this region, according to a draft resolution of that gathering. Tuesday's urgent debate will be the 10th of its kind to be held at the UN Human Rights Council since its creation in 2006. The Israeli occupation has been committing genocide against Palestinians in Gaza and was labeled as a genocide state even by the world's biggest group of genocide scholars during its nearly 2-year war in the Palestinian enclave that has killed more than 64,000 people.
And the death toll in the Gaza Strip has reached 64,905, the majority of whom were women and children. At least 164,926 others have also been injured. This toll remains incomplete as many victims remain trapped under rubble, inaccessible to ambulance and rescue crews. Hospitals in the Gaza Strip have recorded 3 deaths from famine and acute malnutrition in the past 24 hours, bringing the total death toll to 425, including 145 children. Since the Integrated Food Security Phase Classification announcement, 147 fatalities linked to starvation have been recorded, including 30 children. And more than 80 international non-governmental organizations, including Oxfam and the Human Rights Association, have called for states and companies, particularly European ones, to end all forms of business dealings with Israeli settlements established in the occupied Palestinian territories. The details with Mr. Sharfi.
This came in a joint report titled Trade with Illegal Settlements, How Foreign States and Companies Enable Israel to Implement its Illegal Settlement Policy, co-authored by organizations such as the Human Rights Association and Oxfam. The report emphasized that the continued involvement of foreign companies and institutions in settlement-related activities exacerbate the humanitarian crisis resulting from the long-term Israeli occupation. It also highlighted a number of European companies that contribute to supporting the economy of the settlements by selling their products to the occupier. The report called on states, particularly the European Union members and the United Kingdom, to impose an explicit ban on any commercial and investment activity related to the settlements, including the provision of services and financing. It also called for financial institutions to be banned from providing loans to companies involved in projects within the settlements. This report follows a previous report submitted last July by Francesca Albanese, the Special Rapporteur on Human Rights in the occupied Palestinian territories, to the UN Human Rights Council. Albanese's report, titled From an Economy of Occupation to an Economy of Genocide, revealed that foreign companies contributed to the Israeli settlement enterprises through the forced displacement of Palestinians and their replacement with settler populations. The UN Rapporteur emphasized that these activities are financed by banks and insurance companies, while tourism platforms, large retail chains, and academic institutions participate in the normalization process.
You're still listening to Radio Algeria International. The Commissioner General of the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees, Filippo Lazzarini, announced that in the past 4 days alone, the Israeli occupation has struck 10 UNRWA buildings in Gaza City, including 7 schools and 2 clinics, currently serving as shelters for thousands of displaced Palestinians. In recent days, the occupation began a campaign of gradual destruction of high-rise residential buildings in Gaza City, forcing more families into displacement under harsh and dire conditions. Human rights organizations warned that the goal is to forcibly displace residents southward as part of a wider Israeli-American plan to displace them outside the Strip. Lazzarini added in a post on the organization's X that no place and no one is safe in Gaza City and its north, where the intensity of airstrikes is increasing, forcing more Palestinians to flee into the unknown. Back to the country, the commander of the Land Forces Army Corps General Mustafa Ismaili has received the commander of AFRICOM Special Operations, Major General Claude K. Tudor, accompanied by a high-level delegation, and Her Excellency the Ambassador of the United States in Algeria, Mrs. Elizabeth Morobin. On this occasion, the two parties held bilateral discussions on matters of common interest in the presence of general officers and members of the American delegation, praising the excellent bilateral relations as well as the mechanisms of consultation and cooperation established between the two countries. And Algeria is participating in two ministerial meetings on alternative fuels for maritime and air transport and hydrogen, organized as part of the Expo 2025 activities in Osaka, Japan. Minister of State and Minister of Hydrocarbons and Mines Mohamed Arkabi is representing the Minister of State at these two ministerial meetings held from September 15th to 18th. The Director General of the Ministry, Miloud Jalad, affirmed Algeria's commitment to keep working on developing innovative and sustainable solutions in the fields of maritime and air transport, renewable energy and hydrogen, which will contribute to achieving carbon neutrality goals and enhance economic and social development in Africa and the Mediterranean basin. You're still listening to Radio Algeria International. The 11th edition of the Interparliamentary Union's Global Forum of Young Parliamentarians has wound up in Lima, Peru, with notable participation from the delegation of the National People's Assembly. The Algerian participation was marked by a highlight on the prominent place occupied by Algerian women in their society as essential partners in political life and key players in the national development process. And now the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, has affirmed in his message on the occasion of the International Day of Democracy, which falls on September 15th of each year, that democracy draws its strength from the will of the people.
Democracy is powered by the will of the people, by their voices, their choices, and their participation. It thrives when the human rights and fundamental freedoms of all are upheld, especially the most vulnerable. A democracy that excludes is not democracy at all. Today, as we mark 18 years of this International Day and 20 years of the UN Democracy Fund, we honor the courage of people everywhere who are shaping their societies through dialogue, participation, and trust. At a time when democracy and the rule of law are under assault from disinformation, division, and shrinking civic space, these efforts are more vital than ever. The United Nations itself is a forum for dialogue, rooting in the opening words of our Charter, we the peoples. This is a powerful reminder that our legitimacy and purpose derive from those we serve. Let us reaffirm democracy as a force for dignity, inclusion and peace, and work together to ensure it delivers for all.
And with the message of the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, on the occasion of the International Day of Democracy, we come to the end of our bulletin today. Thanks for listening, and I invite you now to listen to a cultural program compiled and presented by Jamal Salmani.